अस्सलामुअलैकुम। आप देख रहे हैं शो जूमिंग विद बॉब और मैं हूं आपका होस्ट बाबर अहमद। आज के शो पे हमारे पास एक बहुत स्पेशल गेस्ट हैं। इनका नाम है ज़ियाउद्दीन यूसुफज़ई, जिनसे मैंने बात की थी चंद दिन पहले, और ये है मलाला यूसुफज़ई के वालिद। तो हमारे साथ ये बात करेंगे अपनी बचपन के बारे में, किस तरह इन्होंने चैलेंजेस ओवरकम की। फिर हमारे साथ बात करेंगे कि स्वात पे तालिबान ने किस तरह कब्ज़ा किया, और अपनी शादी के बारे में बात करेंगे। रोमांस या रोमांटिक का क्या मतलब होता है स्वात जैसे मुआशरे में। फिर आप देखेंगे आपके सामने क्या चीज़ इनके आंखों में आंसू लाती है। तो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग डिस्कशन है। मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि आप आखिर तक देखिए, और थैंक यू कि आप हमारे साथ होंगे इस जर्नी पे। तो आइए शुरू करते हैं। Ziauddin Sab, do you know what Warjale is?
Warjale is basically, it is also called Sagine, Warjale, same thing. When rice is cooked with vegetables, so it's green kind of.
That sounds very delicious.
That is usually eaten with milk.
Yes. It's so interesting because in Swat, I think it's one of the few places. When I went to England, I put milk in my rice, and everyone thought that was the strangest thing in the world.
And you may also know that the people of Swat love rice. There is a famous saying in Swat, in Pashto, the Swat Sari Zadashu Puruju Mada Nashu. Like the people of Swat grow old, but they are never fed up of the rice.
Right. Well said.
Like they love rice.
Ziauddin Sab, all my family, really look up to you. And after reading your book, it's really inspiring on how you expressed yourself and what you said in your book, Let Her Fly.
By the way, thank you so much. I mean, your family is, there are two things. Number one, I love your family because your mother and that family has been the rulers of Swat, and they were the most benevolent and the people who believed in development, in peace and progress. And the development and the peace that was there during Bacha Sahib and Wali Sahib in Swat, that is incredibly exemplary. And I'm so proud. And I tell people that if there had not a Wali or a ruler like Wali Sahab in Swat, and if he had not made and built a school in the far-flung hills of Shangla, you won't have seen any Ziauddin. You won't have seen any Malala. And obviously your father is a great scholar. I always respect him, and he also loves me. I love him so much. So I have always, he has always inspired me with his work. Thank you anyway.
Really appreciate it. I'm very grateful. Thank you, Ji. You come from the Swat Valley, which is called the Switzerland of Pakistan.
Yes.
Tell us what's so good about that place.
It's a cradle of civilizations. You will find sacred places for Hindus, for Sikhs, for Lord Buddha's stupas are there. His statues are there. It had been a place of tourism for people from all over the world. And we had this amazing life, like a family life, starting a school and a lot of students enjoying teaching, classrooms, students, sports, co-curricular activities, an amazing family life with my 3 children and my wife. And meanwhile, that paradise, that heaven, is turned into a hell by some guys called Taliban. And it happened in 2007 when through an FM radio, they started Talibanization.
And you were already like women's rights was important to you, and you were
of course
supporting education, women's education. So in that context, the Taliban came.
I completed my education, and it was time to pay back to the community and to do something for your family as well, but for the community, for the people. And while we were wanting more girls' education, more rights for women, we wanted stronger democracy in our country, more forests, and while you are working for all those beautiful causes, and you see some people who say, no, now you will see a different time. Now your daughter won't be able to go to school. Your wife and sisters won't be able to go to the marketplace, and you won't be able to listen to the music. And we will just destroy the Buddha statues. Then, I mean, that was like the teacher Ziauddin, who was contributing to education as a teacher, as an education campaigner. We had to turn into the fighters for the right of it. Okay.
How long did this take? Like, was this overnight? The Taliban came, everything changed very quickly?
Oh, no, they were very strategic, and they planned in a way that in the beginning, they attracted people, women and men, towards themselves through their FM radio. Mullah Fazlullah used to give speeches, sermons in morning, in the evening, on Fridays. And he made a very huge center beside the river of Swat. And in the beginning, he was not violent. In the beginning, he tried to change people's minds, attract them in the name of Islam, like, oh, we want a better system. We want a just system, and we want like an Islamic society. And then he started speaking against girls' education from his FM radio. He was so influential in his speeches, though it was for a bad purpose. But he influenced the women and men, and some of the girls left school voluntarily. Like at night time, he used to tell the names of the girls who left the school. For example, Kalsoom, Aisha, Khadija left school in blah blah in so and so village, and I congratulate them. So there was a lot of volunteer dropout from school.
Wow.
Gradually, with passage of time, he became more and more violent and violent.
This is the leader of the Taliban who is very effective in how he's talking to people, and he's using logic and reason, which is interesting, Ziauddin sir, because in history, I feel like the most effective forms of discrimination are always when people have a good, like they try to spin a good reason, or they try to make it logical, and they try to present it in a way that this is for the benefit of society. You know, this is for the benefit of everyone.
Also, our people are very religious people. So, religion is something that you can always sell it in those societies. So he used I can say he misused the name of Islam, and many people gave him money, even women gave him jewelry to fund him, and the same money was used then on the destruction of the people. They used it they bombed many schools, 400 schools, and they did a lot of suicide attacks in the Swat Valley. Hundreds of people were killed in suicide attacks and target killing. So this is how Taliban operated.
So to put it into context, you have Swat, the Taliban have come in. In the meantime, your daughter Malala's born, and she's talking about women's rights. And then, so the Taliban see her as the voice for women's rights, and they see her as a threat. Is that right? Am I phrasing it correctly?
Yes, I will add to it. Like Malala was born on 12th of July 1997, and Taliban started their Talibanization or their bad activities and their propaganda in 2007. At that time, Malala was 11 or 12 years old. And they did all these things gradually. And then a stage came in 2009, January 2009, 14th of January, 15th of January 2009, that they said that this is the deadline and no girl, young or old, should be allowed to go to school. If she goes, then the manager of the school or the parents will be responsible. So that was class dismissed. That was the end of education at that time in the Swat Valley. Then for 3 months, we became IDPs, internally displaced people in Swat. And we had to move to the districts, to like down district like Charsadda, Sawabi, Mardan, Peshawar, Abbottabad. And during those 3 months, the military of Pakistan, they did a targeted operation, and Taliban were expelled from the Swat Valley. And then we went back to Swat, and we restarted our lives. So it was 2009, but in 2011, 12, 2 years after, the target killing was still there. And like in those series of target killings, Malala was one of the target who was targeted by the Taliban gunmen while she was coming back from school. So she was 15 years old at that. So she started speaking at the age of 12 or 11. Right. And like 11, 12, 13, 14. So it was like a 4-5 year struggle for the right of education. When Taliban felt that this young girl with a voice is more powerful than Taliban's guns and their suicide attacks, that's why they thought that it is important to silence her.
From all the people around you, you really gave them a chance. Like your wife, your kids, your parents, everyone, you saw the best in them. You know, like anything they brought to the table, you saw the best. And then that changed them in turn. So let's just go to your childhood. Where does that come from?
I personally also went through some discrimination. And that discrimination, which I faced personally, they created a kind of empathy inside me, rather than revengefulness, rather than a bitterness, or if somebody, when I talk, I stutter, I stammer, and like you can imagine, a little child who has not much confidence in himself. And if he is a stutterer, it's very difficult for him. Inside the family, outside of the family, when he is in school, when he talks to the class fellows, when my teacher asks me stand and read a passage. So because of stuttering, I was bullied by some of my classmates and some of the boys in the community. And that was very painful. I wish that I did not stutter. I wish that I were not in that condition because of something that was not in my control.
Do you feel that in school, when you faced bullying or discrimination, no one stood up for you? So you said, you know, where is that hero who's going to stand up for you? So you became that hero when you saw the same injustice happening to other people. Do you feel like that a little bit?
Very interesting. I mean, this is how it works, basically. I was invited to USA by American Stuttering Association, and they gave me a chance to speak as well. So I told there 3 things. That when you face this problem of stuttering and you want to come out of it, so usually 3 people can help you. Number 1 is you yourself. Number 2 are your parents. And number 3 are your teachers. Or other mentors in community, your father's friend and somebody, could be your uncle, could be your aunt. So in my case, I think the first person who wanted to overcome that deficiency, you can say, or overcome that hurdle in my life, and to, in spite of stuttering, to become a debater and a speaker, it was me, myself. One morning, I saw a boy who was giving a speech in the morning assembly. And I wished that, if this boy can deliver a speech in morning assembly, why I can't. So few weeks after, there was a declamation contest in the school. And I asked my father, can you write a speech for me? I was in grade 7 or 6, I think. And my father was kind of shocked in a way that he was not very sure that his son, who is stuttering a lot, and especially in front of my father, I used to stutter more because of the nervousness in front of my father. So he was not very sure, but I insisted. And he wrote a speech for me. On the speech day, I went to the podium. My eyes were open, but I couldn't see anyone, like you can understand. And when I finished my speech, I went back to the hall and sat. So a teacher, who was our maths teacher, and that teacher came and he whispered in my ear and he told me in Pashto, "We urdu wakaro." It means that you spread the fire. Like you spoke very well.
Wow.
So the words of that teacher, I still carry with me, and they give me a power, those powerful words.
Wow.
I'm very grateful to my father, especially, who turned my weakness into a strength, who turned my weakness into a power. And my father, inspired me so much because he himself was a great speaker. And I wanted to be like him. Later in life, whenever, like one day I remember I was doing my master in English, and the teacher gave us an assignment. And next day, he asked me to read it. And some days, for stutterers, some days are good, some days are bad. Sometimes we stutter too much, sometimes we are very fluent. So that was not a good day for me. And I started reading and stuttering. And the teacher told me that why not you pass on your assignment to your friend and he read it for you. Oh my God. And I became very angry. I said, "Sir, you know we call teachers sir in Pakistan." I said, "Sir, this can't happen. This stammering is part and parcel of my personality. And you have to listen to me. I will read it." And I finished it.
Wow, amazing, Ziauddin. Amazing. And I feel, like you said, you turn it to an advantage. Like that's physically you're seeing that like growing up, you saw that your voice is important, right? But
Exactly.
there's a challenge. So then in society, you saw when people didn't have that voice, you could feel exactly how that they were feeling.
Fantastic. And you are very right, believe me, Babar. I'm very impressed with what you said now. Basically, I wanted to speak because I had a lot of things to say. Like as a boy, when I was growing up, what I was seeing in the community, in the society, I wanted to change them. And when you want to change things, first you talk about them.
Exactly.
And if you want to talk about something and you are unable to talk about it because of stammering, that is a big hurdle there. Right. So to remove that hurdle was very much important. Right. And that's why I tell people that I do stutter, but I do speak.
Nice. Very much. Fantastic. This is an inspiring thing to
stutter, but I do speak.
And you said, like in terms of when someone is going through something difficult, discrimination or, some injustice, you said the three people who are important. One is oneself, one is one's parents, and one is one's teachers. So that's actually a very interesting point, because sometimes, a person feels, oh, where is the support? Who is coming to save me?
What is important in the story of Malala Yousafzai? The important thing in her story is that when Taliban banned girls' education completely, and when they bombed more than 400 schools in Swat Valley, this young girl with a book and with a voice, she stood. So we all were speaking for education, and I was a teacher. My voice was very important. But basically, her right was violated. She was one of the 50,000 girls who were unable to go to school because of Taliban's ban.
Right.
And her voice spread like a crescendo because it was her right, and that was violated. Yes. So I tell people that whenever you see any discrimination because of any reason, because of faith, color, gender, or because of your poverty, whatever, but whenever you see any discrimination against yourself, you should be the first person to speak up. Yes. Because your voice is the most powerful voice. When I took my mother to the doctor, like escorted her to the doctor wrote on prescription, mother of Ziauddin. If my father took her, she would become wife of Ruhul Amin, my father's name. And I believe that if I'm a father of a daughter, my daughter will be known by her own name. It was the reason that this legendary Pashtun Afghan heroine was in my mind, Malalai of Maiwand. And Malalai of Maiwand was a girl, 17-year-old girl. The story about her is a little bit fiction as well. But anyway, that was one of the most inspiring figure for me. In the Second Anglo-Afghan War, when they, Afghans were fleeing away, and they wanted to run away. In the battlefield, this young girl, she rose to a mountain, like a small hill, and she raised her voice. So her voice and her identity.
Amazing.
These were two important things for me. That is why I named Malala Yousafzai after Malala of Maiwand.
Wow.
It was my belief in her that she will be known by her own name. I didn't know that a day will come and I will be just known as her father.
Right. Ziauddin Saab, in your life, what was the moment where you were the most scared?
When she was attacked, it was the most difficult day of our lives. And even I forgot how to cry. I was feeling that I'm being taken in by a black hole. I call her Jani. She like a soulmate, like we were two bodies, one soul. Thinking of separation forever from such a person was unthinkable for me. The doctor in Peshawar, he did the right thing at the right time. And he removed part of the skull and gave us space to the brain to swell. And that saved her life.
Wow. It would anyway be very traumatic, almost impossible to handle such an event. But for yourself, it would have been, very so. How did you deal with something like that?
The first person really who helped me to come out of that trauma was my wife. I remember the very night when, at daytime, this happened at 12 p.m. My wife and myself, we were in CMH Hospital, Peshawar, and there were a lot of people there from Shangla, from Swat, from Peshawar. And I'm a kind of person, when something bad happens, the first person I make accountable is myself. I think, what was my role in it? If there is something good, I think of other people, honestly, that who other people contributed to it. But for bad things, I first ask myself that, did I do something wrong? And that kind of dilemma was there in my mind. So I asked Torpekai that, what do you think? Could I stop her? Could I have done it differently? What do you think about my role? Am I responsible what happened to her? And she said, no, don't think like this. You stood for the right of peace and education. And like father, like daughter, she did that. Why should you repent? Why should you regret? The people who attacked her should be ashamed. They should be regretting what they did to a young girl of 15 years. You should never think like this. And that was the time that, I just stopped thinking like that. Because Torpekai was like a moral authority for me.
One thing I really appreciated about your book was um, your marriage, and maybe it was your own decision, and it was done in a very positive way, very romantic in a way, but completely within the respectful confines of traditional society. So how did you would you say that you're a romantic, and because you write poetry, and would you consider yourself something like that?
Yeah, yeah. I was extremely romantic boy. Okay, very romantic. I'm still like, but at that time, you can imagine when you are a teenager and when you haven't come across other girls except your sisters inside your home, and you find someone who is beautiful like Torpeke, with amazing beauty. When I was in grade 8, 9, so Torpeke was used to come to my aunt's home, and we met like at age of 13, 14. So it was just glances, exchange of glances, exchange of looking at one another. And it was very romantic as well. Like one day I remember we were sitting together, and Torpeke basically wrote her name on a piece of paper. And when she went, I just took that name and that piece of paper, and I like was treasuring like the most precious things in my life.
Nice.
So you can imagine, I mean, it was a teenager
yes.
thing. She gave me kind of confidence because before she came into my life, I had this complex kind of inferiority. But once I found that this beautiful girl likes me or loves me or she is keen about me, all my that inferiority was gone. So Torpeke asked to help me. We both help one another in breaking patriarchy. Like I will give you two examples. One is that when we have a custom, a tradition at that time, I don't know whether it is now or not, but when men sit and they want to eat something, so a woman, a sister or a sister-in-law, even mother, she comes and she helps the men in washing their hands. And we were sitting, Torpeke was newly married, and my father, my brother, and other family members were sitting at the dining table, and she was helping like everyone to wash their hands. And when she came to me, I stopped her. I told her, why should you help me in washing my hands? I can wash myself. Nice. And it was like a surprise for her. Okay. So she knew what kind of person I was, and it also encouraged her. So one day, that is my part of the story, but her part of the story, that when a friend was coming to, and I wished that Torpeke should meet my friend, and then she was making up herself like some mascara, etc. And I got a bit jealous that why is she doing that? And she told me, you are a strange man. You are telling your friend to come, and now you think that I should not do. This is my right. And I said, sorry, I'm wrong. You are right.
So both of you are lucky that you found each other in a society, like two people, two individuals who are a perfect fit. And, with anyone else, it would have been very different for both of you, but together you both bought that respect and that bonding.
Usually we think that we love our wives and we love our daughters and we love our sisters. But for me, love is respect. It is not just you kiss someone or you miss someone or you say beautiful words, oh, I missed you. Like Torpeke went to Pakistan. This time she was going for a long time, like for a month. And when we were in the airport and like we were parting, saying goodbye to one another. We were sitting on the bench and she has tears in her eyes, like she almost cried and told me that you have given me respect. So Like she didn't tell me that you love me so much. Yeah, you always have loved me and I love you. But the word she used was respect.
In your book, I read that there were many times where you, when you were growing up, you may have gone onto a different path in life, you know, in your mentality and how you were thinking.
I'm very grateful to my father. The reason is that my father was a Maulana. He was a theology teacher in school, a Maulana, and he was a prayer leader in the mosque. And if you just think about the village community, he was not supposed to send his son to a government school to learn languages or to learn mathematics or sciences. Traditionally, he was supposed to send his son to a madrasa and to confine him to the Islamic education. You understand my point? But my father was very wise. He did not shackle my future with his past. He let me free.
Ziauddin Sahab, have you accomplished what you sought out to do?
We are working through the Malala Fund. We are working for girls' education advocacy in some 8 countries. So our fund is working in Afghanistan, India, Pakistan, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Bangladesh, Brazil. For Syrian refugees, we are working in Turkey and Jordan. So there are some.
And this is for women education. This is for to help girls who don't have the opportunities to get
women education, and especially women's secondary education, because there is a huge dropout after primary education. So our mandate and our goal is to see every girl in school, in high school, to complete her 12 years education, free, safe, and quality education.
Amazing.
And we are working with local education activists, education advocates. So we are supporting organization.
Amazing.
And we call them Malala Fund Education Champions.
Amazing.
So we have from 62 to 65 champions in these countries.
Wow.
And there is a network of them as well within countries. And then there's a global network as well. So in the coming years, I hope that this will change into a movement for girls' education. Previously, before Malala's activism and our fund activism, girls' education was not on the UN SDGs agenda in a way that now it is. While they were deciding SDGs in 2015, the aim was only to talk about primary education. It was our fund and Malala's education that they changed the language that every girl and boy should have 12 years of education.
Wow.
The other side of the story is that I feel so frustrated. I feel so stressed when I see situation in Afghanistan. We had some 8 champions in Afghanistan, and they were doing amazing work in Afghanistan. They were working with the education ministry. They were working with the religious leaders, with the Hajj department. They were working on IT, on online education, on female teachers training, and all those projects are stopped. But we will not lose our hope. We are advocates of girls' rights. We are campaigners. We will raise our voice. We will knock at the door. And I hope they will not let it be broken. They will open it one day. It is 53rd day that Taliban have banned girls' secondary education. And I'm really, Babar, I'm really impressed with the resilience of women and girls in Afghanistan. When I see these young girls and women on streets, and they are staring into the eyes of Taliban, and they say, education is my right. They say, work is my right. to earn my bread is my right, and you can't stop me. This kind of resilience and this peaceful resistance is something that inspires everyone.
So if you want to give power to any community, especially vulnerable community, you try to empower their voice. And if you want to take away power from a community, you take away their voice.
When Malala got the Nobel Peace Prize, she gave her money to a school in Shangla, in the village where I was born and grew up. Between my village and my wife's village, between the two, we got a big piece of land. And now a great school, a state-of-the-art school has been built there for 600 girls now. Right now, they are studying there.
I'm really proud of something like that. You know, for someone to do that and go out of their way, and it's, you know, with so many challenges. So really, really appreciate that. What does it mean to be a good human being?
Simply, if we accept the otherness of other people, it makes us good human being. If we accept the otherness of other gender, if she is a woman or transgender or whatever, and I accept that I'm not somebody to decide for them. It is their life. And I have this love, respect, and empathy and compassion for them. It makes me a good human being.
You've stood up for women's rights, for human rights. You have not looked away, which is one of the most difficult things to do. And most of all, you're a really good person. And I really appreciate you coming on the show, chatting with me. And I have learned a lot from today's discussion, and I'm sure the viewers will learn a lot as well. And I wish you the very best for the future.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Your life,
really,
whatever you think about.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you.
Okay, ji. Have a good night. Khuda Hafiz. Khuda Hafiz.
Bye.